he's got his 16th annual Pro Bowl reception coming up in Honolulu on January 28th. We'll talk about that. Warren Moon, good to see you in person.
Good to see you, man, always.
I've had you on the show on the phone, and I'm thrilled to have you.
We've talked a lot over the years.
I know we have. We certainly have. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
So let's just jump into Cam right here. Let's just jump right into Cam, because I know you were advising him when he was coming off the campus of Auburn. And here we are in the middle of a stellar season for him, and Carolina at 9-0, and all we're doing is talking about his celebrations in the end zone and his dancing. What do you make of this conversation, Warren?
Well, for me, I don't like the dancing. I mean, as a quarterback, I think that's just something that doesn't kind of go along with the position, but that's Cam's personality. And hopefully at some point in his career, maybe he'll grow out of some of that and not want to do that type of stuff as much. But that's his personality. He's kind of an outgoing guy. He's a very expressive guy, but he's a really good person. And I think a lot of people misinterpret who he is because of that, because of the dancing, and that's all they really see. But he's a very highly motivated player. He's a very hard worker, and obviously very talented physically by what he's doing on the football field.
So would you tell him to stop doing that?
I would tell him, but it would go right over his head. You know, he's not going to do that. That's just not who he is, and he's going to be who he is, and you have to let him be that. And I'm sure if Ron Rivera had a problem with it as head coach, he would say something about it, but he doesn't seem to have a problem with it, so you let him keep doing it.
And it's just a lot of fans think he's taunting, but what he's doing is he is celebrating, but he's celebrating in a manner, doing dances that are not mainstream. Let's put it
well,
out
that is a mainstream dance. The last one he did is a mainstreamer.
It is that, and it is the third rail of race. This is what it appears to be playing out right now.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, it's something that has to do with what's going on with his heritage. I mean, that's what people are doing right now. That's what young people are doing. His brother asked him to do that dance if he scored a touchdown, and that's why he did it, for his brother. And they're a very, very close family if you know the Newtons.
Mm-hmm. Cam Newton at 9-0. Do you think he's putting together an MVP season right now?
He's got to be in consideration. There's no question about it. I mean, everybody looks at the numbers of, is he throwing for 4,000 or 5,000 yards like some of these quarterbacks out there? But they're not asking him to do that. They're asking him to do a lot of different things. He runs the football. He's their short yardage back in a lot of instances. He scores a lot of touchdowns on the ground as well as in the air. And then the way he throws the ball down the field, he's more of a downfield thrower, which is a lower percentage passer, so his percentages probably aren't going to be as high as some other guys because of the type of throws that he makes. But he's effective, and he's productive, and they're winning. So all those things combined say you're an MVP candidate.
Warren Moon here on the Rich Eisen Show. So I know you speak to a lot of young quarterbacks in the NFL. Yeah. RG3 has been inactive every single week this season. Healthy scratches. Have you spoken to him at all?
I'm going to speak to him very soon, and I want to see how he's handling this. We've talked over the course of his career, and he started out like gangbusters, Rookie of the Year, had some great numbers, a great first year, and things have kind of went downhill since that injury he had to his knee after that first year, and I want to see where he is mentally, and what he wants to do and how I can help him do that.
Would you mind unpacking for us what you plan on saying to him?
Just what I said. I want to find out where he is. I want to find out how he feels about what's going on. I want to find out what he feels like his future is. Is it in Washington? Does he want to go somewhere else? I want to know all those questions.
Well, the issue is how much has he contributed to his own situation, Warren? Because you hear so many times out of Washington, D.C., that the owner was protecting him and allowing him to have family members in the locker room, et cetera, that he went into the Shanahans in his rookie season saying, these are the plays I don't want to be doing anymore. I want to be more of a pocket passer, et cetera. What do you think of that?
I have been very honest with him about how I feel about some of the things that have gone on there, how he needs to take more blame for the things that have gone wrong, how he needs to take more responsibility about things that go wrong in games. All those different things I've talked to him about, and we'll talk about those things again. And he's had a lot of time now to reflect on what's gone on and what his role has been in this situation, as well as what the organization's role might have been against him. So I just want to see where he is right now and see where he goes forward from here and what's his plan, or does he have a plan, and if I can help him with that plan.
Warren Moon joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Who else are you reaching out to?
I talk with Russell Wilson all the time. I'm around him all the time.
Yeah, because you're doing the
living in
games.
Seattle. I want to reach out to Colin Kaepernick. I've talked to him at different times throughout his career, but I want to talk to him more because he's going through a tough situation.
Well, you're going to see him this week.
Yeah.
San Francisco's coming in.
But
So
you don't really talk to a guy when he's getting ready for a football game.
Well, he's getting ready to back up in a football game.
But he's still getting ready, and
right.
I want to let him know that I'm available for him as well, and that's what I'll say to him if I see him on the field.
Okay. And what are these guys? How receptive are the young players?
They're more receptive when they're not doing well. It's hard to listen when you're on top and you've got all these other people around you that are telling you how great you are, and it's kind of hard to pierce that veil. I mean to pierce that armor of these guys that are around them. But as soon as things start to go wrong a little bit, now they're looking for that advice. They're looking for guys that have been there, and I want to be that guy. I love putting my knowledge on young quarterbacks, and it's not like I've made every possible positive move in my career either. I've made some mistakes, but I also have learned from those mistakes, and I want to make sure some of these guys don't make the same one. So I'm there giving advice wherever I can.
Was there a point in your career, and if so, which one, where you needed somebody older to come and sit
I
you
did,
down?
and I didn't really have anybody during that time, especially somebody of my persuasion, somebody African-American that I could really look to and talk to. So it's good to be able to have somebody that's done it before, that's done it at a high level like I have, and especially for young African-American quarterbacks out there. And it's not just African-American quarterbacks that I talk to. I've talked to all different quarterbacks throughout the years, but these are guys that I really focus in on because they need somebody that kind of can relate to who they are.
So when did you need that? Perhaps when you weren't getting a shot in the National Football League? You had to go to Canada?
I needed it my first few years in the league, just going through that transition, just learning.
From Canada to the National
Football League. Yeah, those first few years were very difficult for me because we were going through a rebuilding process in Houston. Mm-hmm. I'm going through different head coaches. I'm going through different offensive coordinators, trying to figure out what works best for me to be most successful. So it was tough. It would have been nice to have somebody to help me deal with that whole transition of going from one league to another.
This passing league that we're in right now, how much do you think comes from the run and shoot? How much do you think?
A ton of it, and it never gets mentioned. But you look at these spread offenses right now, you look at the pass route combinations, all the different reads off of them. I watch games all the time. I'm saying we were doing that back in 1990. I mean, all these back shoulder fade throws that they throw, we call it a fade stop, but now they call it a back shoulder fade.
Right.
We were doing that years ago. I was throwing Haywood Jeffries those touchdown passes all the time. So I know that that offense was an offense that everybody really didn't understand at that time, but there was a lot of good out of it, and I think they've taken the good out of that offense and applied it to what's going on right now.
I have Warren Moon, the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, Pete Carroll, and you know what? I don't even know where to start with this one because I didn't see this 4-5 thing at all.
I don't think any of us did,
Warren. I didn't see any of it coming, and when you and I spoke earlier in the season, we were pinning it on Cam Chancellor not being there, and the defense would be different.
Right.
But this offense seems to be way, way out of sync. And I'm wondering what you think about all of this.
Well, a lot of it starts up front. And we knew coming into the season they had a kind of a rebuilt, reorganized offensive line that was going to kind of be a work in progress, but we didn't know it was going to take this long to get these guys on track. And they just haven't been able to control the line of scrimmage like we have in the past, where we can run the football, where we can play action pass and throw the ball down the field. Russell can make big plays, and every now and then he's able to, scramble and buy some time and make some other big plays. But we're just not controlling the line of scrimmage, running the football, and that's our identity right now. Our identity is Marshawn Lynch, tough, physical, running football team that we're not getting that done consistently enough.
So would you say the Unger for Jimmy Graham trade at the time that was praised, we were so shocked, certainly because we thought Seattle was one successful red zone play away from a second consecutive ring, and this was the answer to all that? That has now turned to be a major detriment to this team?
I don't think so. I don't think Max Unger is the reason why our offensive line isn't playing well right now. It's not the center position. It's a lot of different things. We've moved guys around. We have Justin Britt went from right tackle to left guard. We've got a new right tackle in Gary Gilliam. I mean, we've got a new center in there right now. We had Drew Nowak to start the season. Now there's Patrick Lewis in there. So a lot of different changes up front. The only continuity up there has been Sweezy and Russell Okun. So offensive linemen, they've got to learn to play together, and they also have to have that chemistry, and they just haven't really been able to form that yet to go along with maybe some physical skills that they're lacking.
Well, I've got Warren Moon here in the Rich Eisen Show studio. I'd like to take a break and come back and talk with you about Russell Wilson and what you do speak with him about. Because the Russell Wilson of the past few years, we're waiting to see that this year. And it really seems to be out of sync, to say the least. And then your thoughts on Peyton Manning in his final season. Warren Moon is right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Don't you dare move. At WMoon1 on Twitter. And your phone calls, 844-204-RICH. You want to talk to Warren? We'll take a call. That's next here on the Rich Eisen Show. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. Warren Moon here in studio. I have a couple phone calls for you.
Do you?
Okay, yes, I do. David in Arizona, you're up with Warren Moon here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's up, David?
Yes, Warren, I was, by the way, I was watching the off season and picking up Jimmy Graham and then drafting Lockett. It looked to me as if the Seahawks was going to add a little more passing in their game. Was I off? Is it the offensive line, or Del Berbel's used to calling running plays? And also, is Babineau's golf game, as good as he always said it is?
Thank you, David. Let's take the first one first. Why aren't they passing more? Is it the offensive line?
I think they are passing more, and some of that is because they have to. Because when they get behind in a ball game, like in the fourth quarter, if a team takes the lead, now all of a sudden you got to keep throwing it to try and win the football game. But I think they're probably passing 4 or 5 more times a game, and everybody thought they were going to pass a little bit more when you get a Jimmy Graham. He's their leading receiver right now. Tyler Lockett was basically drafted as a return guy.
Right.
But he's turned out to be a pretty good receiver as well. So it's not the reason why we drafted him. But we want to get back to that identity. And I think that's the problem that Darrell Bevell has, trying to keep that identity of running the football, but you also have these other weapons that you want to try and take advantage of as well.
Well, what is Russell saying? What's going on between his temples right now? Getting paid all this money?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big distraction going into the season. He's had a lot of transition going on in his life. He's dating a celebrity girlfriend now who has a child. His mom moved out there, and his sister. There's just a lot going on around him that wasn't there before, where it just keeps you focused on football. He's not putting any less time into it or anything like that. Still works very hard. But I don't know how comfortable he is all the time in the pocket, just because he's gotten a lot of pressure early in the season. And now as a quarterback, when you're starting to look at the rush maybe as opposed to looking at that defense all the time, you're worried about where you can escape and get outside and make things happen. You miss some things sometimes. So I don't know if he's completely comfortable in the pocket.
Nick in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, you're on with Hall of Famer Warren Moon. Nick?
Hey, Warren. First off, I'm a huge fan of yours. I got my #1 Houston Oilers jersey hanging up in the closet right now.
All righty. Thank you.
And, being in Wisconsin, I'm a Packer fan, and I think it's been an interesting duality. When Aaron Rodgers a couple years ago got real big doing the touchdown dance with the belt, that was very popular, and it was viewed really differently, I think, than the Cam Newton thing has been. Do you think there's an aspect of race in that? Do you think Cam Newton's celebrations are treated differently because he's an African-American quarterback?
Thank you, Nick.
There could be a little bit of that, no question about it. And I think just Cam, because of the way he came out of college, everybody followed the way the recruitment process went on. And
the laptop and all that business.
The paying thing, all that different stuff combined. There was probably a perception about him coming out of college that people didn't like about him in the first place. And then you add the celebrations to it, that could pile on. But you look at Aaron Rodgers' celebration, it's a real quick double-check thing. It's over. He does it, and it's over with. Where Cam's tends to go on for a little bit of time. He runs over and does it over by himself and kind of puts the spotlight on him, and then he runs and gives the ball to to a kid in the stands. There's a lot that goes along with it, and that could rub a lot of people the wrong way, especially defenses, and we saw that on Sunday.
Warren Moon here on the Rich Eisen Show. What do you think's going through Peyton Manning's head right now?
You know, Peyton just wants to get healthy so he can get back on the field. This guy has a tremendous amount of pride. He's probably one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. And he doesn't want to go out like this. And I've never seen a situation where a guy becomes the all-time leading passing yardage leader and gets benched in the same game.
It's unbelievable.
It just...
Can't make that up.
He doesn't want to go out like this. So he needs to get himself healthy because at his age, at 39, your physical skills start to diminish anyway, and you have to really be on top of your game physically to go along with what you know mentally to be successful. And if that is being bothered by the foot injury or the neck injury or all the other injuries that he's had, he needs to make sure he's healthy before he gets back out there so he can perform at the maximum level, and he's got to be healthy to do that.
So what happens if Osweiler performs so well at the controls while he gets well?
He's a backup quarterback, and his job is to go in there and play as well as he can. If he can win football games, that's great. But Peyton Manning doesn't lose his job because he gets hurt. If Peyton Manning is healthy and he is showing in practice that he can play at the level that they're used to, you put him back out there and let him play. Now, if he can't play, then you know you got Osweiler you can put back in the ball game because he's done very well as a backup, which is his job right now.
Warren Moon, you led the who led the league in completions at age 39, making the Pro Bowl. Is that when you started doing the Pro Bowl reception, the Warren Moon Pro Bowl reception?
I started the year I retired, believe it or not.
And now it's his 16th. This is the 16th year.
Yes, 16th year.
Yeah, man.
Raising a lot of money for my charity as well as St. Jude's Hospital. We've been raising money for St. Jude's for the last 6 years.
Yes,
so.
that research center is
amazing.
Unbelievable.
If anybody gets a chance to go down there and see it,
in Memphis,
they're doing some tremendous work.
Well, they're all donation based because they want to
Right.
make sure nobody sees a bill.
Exactly, and none of those kids pay if they can't. And it's a great program they've had going on for a long time.
And it's quite the bash too. I've heard about it. I didn't really get the invitation when I was there in the Pro
Are you guys
Bowl.
coming over to do a show this year?
No. I mean, no. We're El Segundo based here.
Okay.
You know. So would that have been an invite?
I mean, the NFL Network.
No.
You guys aren't doing
then
the Pro Bowl?
They may do that, but no,
You won't go?
Not me.
You're too big for
3 kids, man.
Your kids would love to go to Hawaii.
I'm sure they would. I'm sure they
The
would.
command center would like to
I
go
think
to
you can
Hawaii.
work that out.
Yeah, so those 2 including, that'd be 5 children.
We're available.
I
Warren.
know all these guys would go. They'd swim over there if they could get there.
Warren, please come back. I'd love to have you here.
Anytime, my man.
You bet. Warren Moon, Pro
right.
Football Hall of Famer,
Thanks,
at WMoon1 on Twitter. I follow him. You should too.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.